Hello, my name is John Peach and I'm a data scientist in the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Data Science Service. In this demo, you will learn to manage Conda environments using the ODSC command line tool. You will learn to browse, search, install, clone, modify, publish, delete Conda environments, and we'll also look at creating a custom environment from scratch using a YAML file. The primary command we'll be using is ODSC. So if we call ODSC and look at the help, you'll see that there's a number of subcommands associated with it, and we're going to be using the one Conda. So let's take a look at what's available for that. So ODSC Conda. And what we see is there's subcommands like list, initialize, show configuration, publish, install, etc. We'll be going through most of these. So let's start off by browsing. So if we call ODSC Conda list, it will return back to us a YAML file of all the available data science service managed Conda environments. And it has tons of information in it. For example, we can get the name of the Conda pack, we can get the slug, which is a unique identifier for it, and here it's telling us that the type is data science, meaning it's managed by the data science service. We can use the same command, but this time use the local option, and it'll return back to us a YAML file of all the installed Conda packs on the notebook session. And again, we see the same information. We have the name, we have the slug, but here the type is local, meaning that this Conda pack is installed locally. If I wanted to see what was published, I would use the override command, and it would tell me everything that is available and published. I'm not going to do this now because we haven't set it up and it will fail. Let's take a look at searching for different information, because what we got back was a YAML file with tons of information that's hard to access visually when we're at the command line. So what we're going to do is use grep and other command line tools to parse that information. So if we do ODSC Conda list, so we're just going to list all the information from the data science service managed Conda packs. And we do grep -e, which is going to allow us to use a regular expression. If you don't know what regular expressions are, it's a search syntax that allows us to do pattern matching. So the caret that I have there means start searching at the beginning. These brackets say look for spaces, and the asterisk means as many spaces as we want. And I'm going to search for name. And that's going to give me all the YAML keywords for name. And I also want to look at the slugs. So let's do the same thing, but this time we're going to give it slug as the pattern we want it to match on. When we do this, it's going to go grab that YAML file again, and it's going to filter out anything that is a name or a slug as the keyword. Now we want to install a Conda pack. And I do know that there is a Conda pack that has data exploration name to it. So I'm just going to use the same string we had before, but I've added grep data exploration. And that's going to go out and it's going to get a list of all the Conda packs in the data science service. It's going to look at the slugs and just give me the ones that belong to data exploration. So to install that, it's ODSC Conda install, and then I give it the slug parameter and I tell it to install that. What it's going to do, it's going to go out and it's going to grab that package. It's going to ask me what version number do I want to use, because I can use a different version number than the number that is used by the Conda itself. And it's going to download this and then it's going to extract it. It's going to take quite a while. So I'm going to pause the video while it does that. We're back. It's installed the Conda pack. And now let's just make sure that it's actually there. So we're going to use the ODSC Conda list command. And this time we're going to use local because we're looking for the installed Conda packs. And we're going to do grep. We're going to look for the slug parameter. And then we're going to make sure that the exact Conda pack slug is there. So that's Data Explorer P37 CPU V3. So if this returns a result, then the Conda pack was properly installed. And it did. The Data Exploration Conda pack is installed. Now what we want to do is we want to clone it because we want to make some changes to it. So we're going to clone it using the ODSC Conda clone command. And now we need to tell it from what environment, from what Conda pack do we want to clone from. So we give it the slug name of Data Exploration Python 3.7 CPU version 3. And then I need to give it a name. And the system will automatically give it a slug based on the name. So I'm going to call it my Data Exploration. The system is now going to ask me what version number I want to use in my copy of the clone. I'm just going to leave it as version 3. And it's going to go out and it's going to collect up all the packages that it needs. It's going to build a big zip file, a tar file of everything, and then it's going to install it. So while that's happening, I'm going to pause the video and we'll be back when it's done. Welcome back. It's finished cloning the Conda pack, and we need to determine what its slug was. So to do that, we're going to use ODSC Conda. We're going to list, and because we're looking at installed ones, we're going to use the local option. I'm then going to use grep, and I want to get the names and the slugs. So it goes through and looks at all the installed Conda packs. It came back and it told me that my Data Exploration Conda pack has this slug here. So we're going to need this. What we want to do next is we want to modify the Conda pack. To modify the Conda pack, we're going to use the Conda tool. So not ODSC Conda, just Conda. We're going to activate the Conda. The Conda is stored in Conda. What we want to do now is modify the Conda. And to do that, we need to activate it. So we're going to use the Conda command, activate. Now notice it's not ODSC Conda, it's Conda. And we're going to give it the path to where the Conda is installed. So all the Condas are installed in the Conda directory, and we give it the slug name. So we activate the Conda. Now any changes I make now will affect that Conda. So let's do something like install the pendulum package. So it's going to Python 3. We're going to do a pip install pendulum. So that's going to go to pip. It's going to grab pendulum and it's going to install it. And now let's deactivate our Conda because we're finished making the changes. And let's go on to publishing the Conda. So what we need to do here is we need to set up our Conda environment. Let's go ahead and publish our Conda. So the first thing we need to do is set up a bucket in order to store the Condas in. So if I go over to my buckets, I have my compartment I'm in, and I want to create a bucket. So the bucket that I want to create is called publish Conda environments. I'm just going to copy and paste that in here. And then it's just going to go ahead and just create the bucket with the default parameters that's there. What you need to note is this is going to be your bucket name, but you also need to know the namespace in order to configure this. Let's copy the namespace. Now we need to initialize the system so that it knows where to store and access publish condas. You only need to do this once in a notebook. It's the odsc conda init command. I'm going to tell it the bucket namespace and I need the bucket name. I'll just copy and paste that in. There we go. Once we're initialized, we can go ahead and do things like publish our conda. So to publish the conda, it's just odsc conda publish. And then you give it the slug parameter, which is the name of the slug. So in my case, it was my data exploration version 1. This is going to go and collect up all the conda information and upload it to the bucket. While it's doing that, I'll pause the video. Welcome back. It's gone and finished uploading the conda to the bucket. So now that it's published, we can check to see if it's published by looking at odsc conda list. This time we're going to use the override command. We're overriding the default location, which is the data science service conda packs. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab the names and the slugs of any published conda pack that we have. And so we see that we have the conda pack that we just published is listed there. Let's take a look at the bucket. So if we go to the bucket and open it up, what we'll see is that there's a folder called Conda Environments. If you go inside of that, it's listed by architecture. So we have CPU, My Data Exploration is the Conda, and then version 1, and then here is the Conda environment itself. Let's go ahead and delete that conda off of my notebook session. To do that, use odsc conda delete. And then we need to give the slug name that we want to delete. So it is my data exploration version 1. This is now going to ask me whether or not I want to delete it. I'm going to confirm that I do, and we'll go ahead and delete it. We've gone over ways to clone and publish and install. There's one other thing you can do to create a conda, and that is to use a conda YAML file. So I have one here that I'm created. We won't go over the details of doing this, but we have a YAML file that lists the channels and our dependencies and all that type of stuff that you would need to build a Conda file. And to do this in our environment, there's some extra things that get added in by default. So if we look at the up base environment YAML, these packages will be installed for us automatically. So to install the conda using the YAML file, it's odsc conda, and then we're going to create the conda pack. We have to tell it what file we want. So we're going to use our YAML file. And this will go ahead and create it. If I don't want to install the base dependencies, then I would add in the empty operation. So we're not going to actually run this. I just wanted to show you that you can use advanced features like creating Conda environments from a Conda YAML file within the service. Thank you very much.